Could somebody please make it make sense?
Hey everybody, welcome to A Pop of Culture. I'm your host, the Esoteric and Facetious, and this is A Pop of Culture, which is my video essay podcast where I speak on pop culture, social justice, and the human experience from a Black, bisexual linear perspective. Everything, and I mean everything I say, should be taken with a grain of salt, as I'm simply a recent college grad with access to a recording device and the internet. With that being said, my intention be so recent you critique my views unless it's truly relevant. If you disagree with anything I say, let's have a civil conversation in the comment section below. Today's video is going to be our first episode of Was She Right? Was she wrong? Which is going to be my series where I speak on was he or she right or were they wrong? Which is going to be my series where I speak on different people, different situations. Was this person right? Was this person wrong? Was this group of people right? Was this group of people wrong? This is a series I've been wanting to do for a while on my channel. I think it's a very fun thing to do, to have these debates of whether a person was right or wrong in a situation. I may have certain feelings, you may have certain feelings, so it's a very interactive thing where I give my take and you give your take. We can talk about public figures, we can talk about movies and TV shows, we can talk about real life situations, things that have happened in my life, things that have happened in your life. The possibilities are endless. But before we get into our first episode, I want to advertise my cover channel, Pop of Culture Sings, where I sing throwback R&B, contemporary R&B, pop music, whatever I'm feeling, whatever you're feeling. So if you wanna be down, like Brandy, if you're down with my click, R.I.P. Aaliyah, then definitely feel free to check that channel out. Now let's get into the topic of this video. So for the first episode of Was She Right? Was She Wrong? And I definitely want y'all to be doing that while you're watching this. I can't see you, but I'm going to hope y'all are actually doing it. For our first episode, we are going to be talking about a situation that I was told about, a story I was told from another person that stuck with me. So if you can't tell, I was brought up in the church. I grew up in the Bible Belt. I am not religious. I am an atheist. But I was, as I said, brought up in the church, so I have a lot of church memories. And one of those memories is when one of the women who was involved in the children's ministry, one of the people who was always around for the different events and Bible studies and choir rehearsals, she told us a story. I'll tell you the story and then I'll tell you my thoughts on the story. So here's how the story went. The woman has 2 sons, but at this time, only the first son had been born. He was the first grandchild. He was the first nephew. So the whole family was obsessed with him. They were doting on him. They loved him so much. And basically, he got spoiled rotten. And so for his first Christmas, I'm assuming it wasn't his actual first Christmas, but his first Christmas as a kid, when you remember things, you're told about Santa, where you're actually asking for stuff and expecting stuff. So basically on his first Christmas, apparently they went all out for him. The mother, she went all out for him. The grandparents went all out for him. All the aunts and uncles went all out for him. He got so many toys. He got probably damn near every toy that he asked for, every toy that was out for boys and kids that was out there. And apparently, in front of all of those people, he said how he was upset that he didn't get one thing. He said, "Oh, I didn't get da-da-da-da." And basically, she was so appalled at the fact that he got all these toys, he was spoiled rotten. They'd gotten him nearly every dang toy that they could have got him, and he still, in front of all of these people, had the nerve to say, "Oh, but I didn't get XYZ." And so she said she was so upset at this, she was so shocked at the fact that he was so ungrateful, that she drove him to the children's shelter and she made him give away every single toy that he had. And she said after that, he never said anything of that nature again. And he learned his lesson about being grateful for the things that you get, and that some people are not in as fortunate a situation as you are. And to be honest with y'all, ever since I heard that story, I felt like, now that lady was wrong for that. And I wanted to talk about that. Now, I will say, obviously, she's a parent. I'm not yet a parent. I plan to be a parent in the future when I've got my stuff together. But obviously, I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to tell a parent how to parent their child.
Oh, you are not telling me how to raise my child.
But as a person who's a critical thinker, who have common sense, I just never felt right with that story. And the reason why I never felt right with that story is I always felt that there were other ways that she could have taught her son to appreciate things that didn't require him having to give all of his toys away. Because I just felt like, for me personally, that was overkill. Here's my thing. I feel the way that our children act is a reflection of the way we teach them to act. So I feel if he's out here saying these things and not being appreciative, that's a reflection of you as a parent. And that's not to say she's a bad parent. I don't know how she was parenting him, but I do feel that was a reflection of what she's raised him to expect, because there was a reason why he reacted in that manner. And I think part of it may have been due to her parenting. It may have been due to the fact that he was an only child and that people had spoiled him rotten, so he came to expect certain things. My issue with that is I feel like that's kind of disrespectful to the people who gave him the toys. And maybe she felt it was disrespectful for him to speak out of turn and say that he didn't get something. She may have felt that that disrespected them and all the money that they put into him. But here's my thing. I feel like it was disrespectful, but this was his first Christmas. I feel she made it into her child being bad and unappreciative. And I think her child was unappreciative, but I think he was unappreciative because he didn't understand how lucky he was to even be getting all of these toys. He was so focused on the toy he didn't get rather than all the toys that he did get. I get why she wanted to take him to the children's shelter to show him, hey, some of these other kids have it way worse. They didn't get anything for Christmas, or they got one thing for Christmas, and you're ungrateful. I get that she wanted to show him that other children are not as fortunate, but I don't think she needed to take away the gifts that he had. Because first and foremost, people spent money on those presents for him. If I'm going out of my way to pick out something for my nephew and he says one off-color remark, and now that money that I spent, hard-earned money, is not going to him, I may feel a type of way. Now, obviously, the toys were going to a good place. They were going to a shelter for these kids who are even less fortunate, who probably would appreciate it way more than her child did. But I don't know. That something about that doesn't feel right. Like, if I'm giving your child a toy, I feel like that toy should go to that child. I personally feel she was embarrassed about her behavior as a mother. She was embarrassed about the fact that he embarrassed her by saying that ungrateful thing in front of all of the family members. And I feel she felt she needed to make a big move as a mother to prove that she wasn't raising a spoiled child. She made that grand gesture to prove to everybody else and herself that she wasn't raising a spoiled child. My thing is this. I think she could have explained to him, you need to be grateful for the fact that you got all of these toys, that you have a family that loves you, that you have a parent who loves you, who is able to afford these things, these toys that are a luxury. Not everybody gets this opportunity. I think she could have had that talk with him. I think she could have taken him to a shelter if she wanted to show him that he's in a better situation than a lot of other people, that a lot of other kids didn't even get one toy, or they got literally one toy. I think she could have did all of that without having to have him give his toys to those other kids. I felt that crossed the line. And I will say, if he was spoiled rotten, he probably didn't even need those toys. Toys are not something you need to survive. Like I said, I think she wanted to either A, overcorrect because she was embarrassed about the fact that he said that in front of the family members, or I think B, she wanted to turn it into one of those parent of the year moments. I think sometimes parents get focused on, I did this big thing and I'm gonna tell everybody about it. When she told us about it, she was so proud about the fact that she did it. She clearly felt like she was in the right, and she clearly felt like this was a big moment, that there was some type of a lesson to the story that we as the young people needed to hear. I think she felt like she was gonna get the Mom of the Year award. Like, I'm such a good mother for doing this. And I don't know, I feel kind of weird about those moments because they feel kind of performative. She could have taught him the lesson without doing this big grand gesture. I'm not going to bash her for her parenting because everyone has a different parenting style, but I just feel I wouldn't have done that with my child, because I feel she tried to correct her spoiling of this child by doing this big grand gesture of making him give away all his toys. But here's my thing. If you had explained to this child the struggles that other children go through, he wouldn't have fixed his mouth to say that in the first place, and you wouldn't have had to go to the shelter. Someone missed giving him a lesson about appreciating things and understanding how fortunate he was. So when he acted out of that lack of understanding for that, she overcorrected by sending him to the children's shelter and making him give those toys away to those kids. Now, I will say, toys are not life and death. He didn't die. He wasn't physically harmed from not getting those toys. But at that same time, I do feel like children are allowed to make mistakes without having to give away every single one of their toys. I get what he said was wrong and unappreciative, but even when you look at the other context from the story, he had no cousins. He was the only child in the situation. So I feel like he clearly wasn't exposed to the information that other kids don't have it like he has it. And I also think too, one of the problems of the Santa story that we tell children is, we tell children, if you're good, Santa will give you everything on your list. And the reality is, sometimes parents can't afford everything on the list. Sometimes toys are sold out. That doesn't mean you weren't a good kid. I think sometimes when we tell kids this Santa story, we give them this idea that if they're good, they'll get everything they want. And the reality is, it's not always that way. So I just wonder, did she tell him that thing about Santa giving you everything you want? Because sometimes we tell kids, if you're good, you'll get everything you want. So they expect, I was good, so why am I not getting everything I want? So I just really question with that situation, what were the steps leading up to him saying that thing that came off unappreciative? Because I feel things don't come out of nowhere. I feel that behavior came from somewhere. I get why she was embarrassed because he came off ungrateful. But I think it could have been a teaching moment without her having to take away his gifts. Because I don't know, something about that doesn't feel right. I think it's this. I think my thing is, clearly her child was good if these people wanted to dote on him and they wanted to give him these gifts. So I don't think that that one action negated his good behavior. And I think that that's a bad lesson to send children of, if you do one thing that may have been in part due to my way I raised you or the way that our family raised you, no more gifts, everything's taken away from you. And I also feel like there's a kind of weird effed up moral in that. Like, because these children are less fortunate, like now we have to take from you to give to them. Like, I feel like it's kind of this weird Robin Hood, like take from the rich and give to the poor. That child clearly had some good behavior throughout the year and deserved to enjoy opening up the gifts and using the gifts. And I don't think that that one statement of, oh, I didn't get this one toy warranted taking all the toys away. I think she could have made it a teaching moment without taking away all of his gifts, because I feel like Christmas is something you look forward to all year. For her to take those gifts away, even though they went to a good cause, I just don't feel right about that. I would have rather her told him from the get-go that there were kids that were less fortunate and maybe made him pick some toys and say, you're going to make a list for you, but you're also going to make a list for a less fortunate kid in your area. And we're going to pick up toys for that kid, and we're going to deliver those toys to that kid so that they can have a Christmas just like you. I just hate that back-end parenting. Because of your behavior, the kid acts in a certain type of way, and then on the back end, you want to punish them for acting in a way that you, I feel, somewhat enabled. I feel in some way or shape or form, she enabled some entitled behavior in him that made him comfortable saying what he said. But instead of taking accountability for that and saying, hey, maybe I was wrong for not showing him that other kids don't have it as good as he does, she punishes him by taking away all of his toys. And I feel like that was her way of being the good mom. I just feel it didn't take all that. But how do you feel? Was she wrong? Do you think she was wrong? Do you think she was right? I think she was wrong. Clearly, he didn't do that behavior again, and she still gave him gifts for other Christmases, so I don't think anybody was hurt in this. But I do feel like that is something traumatizing, like taking away all somebody's gifts. It's not his fault that those kids are less fortunate, and I don't think him making one off-color remark should result in him losing all of his gifts and having to give them to those people, because I feel like that sends this message that somehow it's his fault that they're in a less fortunate situation. Like, he didn't create the problem. He just made one off-color remark. And while he was being ungrateful, I don't think that that necessarily correlates with kids not getting anything. One thing I will say is I don't know this person's story all the way through, so maybe they came from a less fortunate background, so maybe that's why they were so offended by this. So I will say that could factor into it. I do think certain factors like that could impact the situation and why they felt so strongly about it, but I still feel like it was not the best move that could have been made. I think because he had that lack of understanding that people didn't get anything, that's why he felt empowered to say that remark. Because, as I said, if he knew that other kids had it rough before Christmas, he wouldn't have said what he said. So I feel like that lesson should have been made earlier. But how do you feel? Like I said, do you think she was wrong? Do you think he was wrong? What do you think? I think that the child was wrong for not being appreciative, but I do think you have to teach children these things. I think parents kind of expect their children to be appreciative and grateful and understand all of these things about the world, but you have to teach your children these things. You can't punish a child for a lesson that you didn't teach them. And I'm sure she taught him generally about being grateful, but I don't think she taught him the severity of why it's so important to be grateful for the things you did get versus the things you didn't. This may have been his first experience not getting one of the things he wanted. You can't act out of embarrassment. You can't act out of wanting to prove something to people. And I think she may have gotten lost in the sauce. But what do you think about that situation? I just wanted to speak on that situation because certain situations I see and hear about, I just feel like, you were kind of wrong in that situation, or you weren't wrong in that situation. So I just wanted to open it up for y'all to talk about it and give your thoughts. And I want y'all to suggest certain things. I want y'all to send in situations you want me to talk about, situations that have happened in your life, story times. I think this could be a great fun series, so let me know your thoughts down below. Love y'all. Bye-bye. See y'all in the next one.
Like this video if you like this video. If you made it to this point in the video, comment a thumbs up emoji below or still here if you are still here. Subscribe if you want to see more, and make sure to hit that bell so you're the first to know when I upload new content. I upload new content every week. And if you're enjoying yourself, and why wouldn't you be enjoying yourself? To the left, there's a playlist of all my video essay podcasts. I have 24 and counting. In the center is a button to subscribe if you just haven't had a chance to subscribe and you would like to. And to the right is a playlist of all of my covers and parodies. So if you are wanting to check those out, feel free to do so. And if you want to support me, if you want to support the show, first and foremost, a non-financial way you can support is just through sharing this video. I can make the thumbnails, I can, make the titles, I can do the tags and do keyword research. One of the best ways that I can grow my brand is through y'all sharing this content with other people who like this type of content, because I nor you can control the algorithm, but I can control the quality of the content I make, and y'all can, if you enjoy the content, share with people who can like it, so that way, if y'all are feeling it, it's getting put out there, whether, the algorithm favors it or not. Somebody's gonna see it because you resonated with it and you resonated with me, and now you're sharing it with other people. So if